Well, happy Sunday, Smite fans. You are tuned in to the Smite 2 Founder Series Swiss Bracket Edition, and we're here in EMEA. My name is Dolson Gormizer, the perfect person for me to start off my fine Sunday with. And Gore, we are now getting into do or die for a lot of the teams here in our Swiss bracket. We've knocked out a
Yeah.
handful of teams across this process, and a few more knockouts to happen here today.
Yeah, that's the thing that's been fun. In admittedly, it's just as Swiss goes on, right? Last week we get some elimination, some qualification. This week it's only eliminate. I guess it's not only elimination or qualification, but it's a lot of both. And then next week it's only elimination or qualification. So it's just exciting times.
Well, remember, if you are watching all this Smite 2 and it gets you excited to play some Smite 2, you want to use code !access in our chat, and that'll send you to a link. And then within that link, you're going to want to use code SMITE2esports to grab yourself a Smite 2 alpha key. That'll get you access to the game. And then, as we'll mention later on today, and as I'm sure you're aware, there are Founders Edition upgrades that you can grab for more goodies on your Smite 2 journey. But !access and then code SMITE2esports will get you into the game, and you can start playing some Smite 2 here today. And Gore, I think a lot of what I've tried to tap into and tune into over these last few weeks are the storylines that start to unfold, some of the rosters that have done well that we maybe didn't expect to do quite as well, some rosters that, well, we didn't expect to do quite so well, and we still find them in the tournament here a little bit later on. One of the teams we're going to watch here this morning, Titans Reloaded, I think one of those teams that I felt somewhere in the middle about, because as we'll see in the bracket here, they had a decent start to their run, and then end up dropping down here to the 1-2 side of the bracket. They lose to Tythonic last weekend, and that was their second loss. That puts them here in this bracket. So they'll be playing, Titans Reloaded will be playing up against Chase the Enemy, and Old and New versus the Discípulos del Chaos will be happening today as well. So a reminder, here in EMEA, these 1 and 2 matchups, and in North America later today, are knockout matchups. So the winners will not move on to our playoffs yet. They'll have to move on to next weekend in those 2-2 matches, but the losers will unfortunately be out of the Swiss stage. Let's see what we've got in store for you here today. As I've mentioned, we are going to start things off here in EMEA with Titans Reloaded versus Chase the Enemy. That's the middle entry on the right side of your screen there, the 1 and 2 match. And then Old and New versus Discípulos del Chaos will be our second matchup of the day that we'll be showing in EMEA on broadcast. Both of these knockout matches, but not promotional matches. Or we might be showing you Mockingbird versus Smoke Break, rather, in the 2-1 matches there over on the other side. Over in North America, we've got a similar look for you here today. Remember, stay tuned in after our EMEA section. You'll be able to watch another North American matchup or two. It's the Alec Hate Club versus Borscht. And then Scrumptious versus Garf's Goblins will be taking place here as well. So a bit of a mixed bag here, Gormizer, today, based on what we've got from these teams. High expectations, high impact, and I want to pick up right where I left things off here, and we'll get right into our first matchup. It's Titans Reloaded. It's a team that I had some expectations for. I think them winning here 2-2 is probably, I think I would have imagined this roster getting to that 2-2 portion of this Swiss stage with Stimix, Dark, AC, Bandolero, and Ragna. And then Warchi's a sub for this team who we've seen play a couple of matches here and there. So again, it's a team that certainly has some recognition, and I think with that, some expectations.
Yeah, it really does. Like you said, when you recognize even just a couple of names, you start to kind of get curious about it. Especially when I look at Chase the Enemy, and I've maybe heard a couple of their names. So like name power, admittedly, does not mean anywhere near as much as it did, like say a year ago. But there's been at least a little bit of correlation for us to be able to grab onto. I'm really excited to see this one though, because I do feel like you said, Titans Reloaded is one of those teams that really has those capabilities. I'm also really interested because I feel like the meta has been shifting so much that a lot of what this is over the last few weeks is partially who's getting the practice and getting things done.
Yeah.
But also there's a really big portion of it is just how well are you adapting, right? Like, are you locking in the same stuff that was really good 3 weeks ago that's just going to get rolled by the new hotness? Or are you on top of things, making sure that all the new gods or new changes or whatever are under your belt and ready to go?
Or each week, new gods getting added. Feels like picks and bans change. Let's see how EMEA is adapting here this weekend in our Swiss bracket. Again, we saw some matches yesterday. Baron overwhelmingly in the ban priority column. And then it feels like, Gore, the teams kind of get to pick and choose from there. It tends to be the second pick team is the one that's banning Baron. The first pick team would love to pick that. Fenrir plus Baron being our 2 bans is sort of what I've grown to expect here at this point. And so I'd be surprised if Chase the Enemy don't go ahead and take that one off the board. But that has opened up a lot of opportunities outside of that. The jungle carry meta is still upon us, Gore, and I think I'm going to be curious to see where Loki and Susano and the like end up getting prioritized in these drafts.
I think also worth mentioning, because I don't think we threw it up today so far, but the new gods, right, with Hurricane Tanza not available this weekend, period. Like, and that, for the record going forward, it's just going to be new gods the week they come out. Not going to happen. Next week, who knows? It's the Wild West at that point. Also, and again, this is just to touch on it, but like literally like 15 minutes ago, maybe a little earlier, Nua was banned out, right? So the mid pool being a little slimmer does mean things like the Hecate, I think, rise in terms of where you want to grab her. It's also really been interesting because I feel like without Nua, we start to talk about, a couple weeks ago, we saw a lot of like Hecate versus Neath matchups. That was kind of like mid and not too uncommon. I would not be surprised if we go back to that. I feel like Neath is still an incredibly powerful god right now. And you get the fact that you can build her ability base, she can farm really well. Honestly, the setup between her and a jungler is not too bad. Like, I wouldn't mind seeing her, but if you can maybe get both on the same team, suddenly, let's say if Titans Reloaded draft her, you get a global presence and a really good carry and a really great team fight mage. So you could kind of maybe pick the best of both worlds. I just don't know where she stands on the priority list right now for a lot of these teams, though.
Yep. Wow, good 1 and 2 pick score for Titans Reloaded here. The Hecate certainly strong. Jing Wei, the most prioritized, maybe alongside the Neath. ADCs here in the current meta from what we've seen. It's a really good backline for Titans Reloaded. In the meantime, Gore, I think Chase the Enemy have gotten similar positions on the tier list, but in the jungle and in the initiation pool. We've seen some Athena jungle over the last couple of weekends. When you put Loki in the mix, starts to make you wonder a little bit. I would assume Loki jungle, but I also saw Loki mid yesterday, and the team said, we're just going to sit back, farm up, get Loki in the game later on. We're going to just let the mid lane be, and eventually this Loki is going to hit that power spike. And so the Bacchus, and now the Kukul Khan raises those eyebrows a bit. Probably got support jungle and solo lane in those 3 there, and so I think, Gore, as good of a draft as Titans Reloaded have started with, Chase the Enemy have a really good start as well.
Oh yeah, I would attach to the Bacchus Loki, I think very similar to how you have, where it's just those guys are very good gods when played appropriately, and in the right hands, they can get so much done. Athena's definitely, I'm a little more, I'll say like 70-30. I still really like Athena, and like you said, her initiation is incredible. The issue has been trying to get that done consistently, and admittedly, I've seen her at least thrown in the jungle, I've seen her thrown in solo, I've seen her thrown in support. This could, with Loki, I'm imagining it's solo or support, but again, like you said, who knows in the current day and age. And I'll have to say it, I've been 50-50, maybe even less, maybe 40-60 on this Kukul Khan of like, should he be picked, should he not? There are like 3 or 4 players across the league, like not just in EMEA, but in like NA that we've watched, that I'm like, I love it when you play Kukul Khan, but a lot of it has been, are you hitting your ults? Like if you're not hitting your ult on this god, then you're really not getting what you locked him in for. That's where a lot of his burst damage is coming from. That's where a lot of his control can come from. And so for Chase the Enemy, it might be a little bit away, but for Eduardo, like if I need to see you hit more like 70% of the ults. That's a good metric. As long as you're nailing 70% of them, then I'm okay with the Kukul Khan. The minute it starts to be a little less than that, unless it comes up in the big moments, right around a Fire Giant or around a Gold Fury in big team fights, then it just doesn't have the same impact. So there's a little more weight for me on the Kukul Khan just because of what I've seen kind of grand scheme in terms of his performance. Especially when, as you mentioned, like Titans Reloaded, their top 3 was incredibly, incredibly powerful. The bottom 2 are incredibly powerful. I think the Ares into this draft feels really solid. Susano has just been a hard carry, and Dark on this god in Smite 1 was incredibly powerful. I feel like they kind of ran a little bit of a tier list. And in terms of just pure drafts, they're looking incredibly powerful for Titans Reloaded.
Well, I'm curious now for Chase the Enemy. I thought I had it figured out, and then Bologna gets picked.
Yep.
Could be Bologna ADC. We've seen that once or twice. Don't know who you stick over. I mean, Kukul Khan in the mid lane, Gore, is about as confident as I'm getting with this draft right now. And I guess, it raises a larger question. I mean, Titans Reloaded. I mean, I'm remembering a couple really good Bandolero games a few weekends ago. Ragna's been a really solid carry. I mean, both these teams are 1 and 2, so I don't know if you can argue that Titans Reloaded should be favorited or not. I mean, that's just my own personal, I'm familiar with these guys' bias trickling into my analysis, but I wonder if the idea is let's get a little creative here in game 1 and these best of 3s. Remember early on in this process before Swiss, we were in all best of 1s. It was you got no room for error. So I wonder if we're starting to see some team score maybe get a little bit more flexible, and that's the mentality here. Get creative and see if you can maybe catch Titans Reloaded off guard.
Yeah, no, the entirety of what they've got, it's exciting, right? In the right ways, right? Because, like you said, not only is it incredibly flexible to the point where, like, I'm pretty much in the same boat. Kukul Khan is the one that I think I could hang my hat on. That seems like mid, and everything else, who knows? I wouldn't mind seeing this. Malum and I talked about it a little bit yesterday, but because of the basic attack changes coming into this week, Bologna ADC, Loki ADC even, aren't really that far-fetched of an idea to think about.
Now, we'll see. Let's get some answers here as Chase the Enemy and Titans Reloaded take the battlefield. And it is Kukul Khan Midgore. We got that one thing right. Bologna ADC.
Nailed it, baby.
I do think that was the likely outcome was Bologna ADC.
Nah, we're just good. That's just what we bring to the table,
No, that's right. That's what we're bringing to the table here first thing in the morning on Sunday. I do hesitate a bit to like fully put the Dolson stamp on anything, but Bologna ADC is something we've seen a couple of times before. So Bologna plus Athena Gore. Do you think there's, and that's an early game warrior, so maybe there's some potential for burst damage early in this laning phase that maybe Ragna and the dual lane partner there are not quite prepared for.
Yeah, it makes me very, very curious, because it does mean that this could be a team that, like you said, a lot of control. Like, Bologna's clear isn't too terrible, right? Having cleave autos on the hammer, you've got a little bit of burst with the hammer, you're going to be taunted in, and if you can hit both gods with said hammer, then, it gets a little extra damage. Things like that do mean that you have the potential to control this lane. And yeah, like you said, very similar to, like, if you think about it, solo lane, right? I'm going to bring it in because that's typically where we'd see Bologna. A boxing match in solo lane, a lot of damage gets done either way, and a lot of potions get used. It's not uncommon, as you can even see, for a chalice and a health pot to be bought when you're in solo, so you can survive the just pure strategic amount of smacks that you're going to be receiving in this matchup. Bologna gets to just do that against Jingwei, and I actually really like the build as well, mainly the opting into the chalice super early on to make sure that you can kind of box in. You know you're going to have to take a lot more hits. You're melee. You have to get closer to the Jingwei. The Jingwei has to get to you. The chains are going to slow you down a little bit and cause some trouble. And yet Kami's just altered that by saying, okay, I'm just going to smack the hell out of you.
Well, especially for Ragna and Jingwei. Late game ADC, but while winning an early game trade, it's because Dark is here. It's in a double right off the bat. 1-2, they drop. Goodness gracious. I thought they might be on the back foot, Goremizer, but a well-timed gank. And Titans Reloaded on the board to the tune of 2.
Yeah, that's about your worst case scenario. You take a little bit extra poke than I think you anticipate. The chains, and admittedly your level, stop you from retreating. Then the Jingwei knock up, because Jingwei's now level 3, and then you also have a Susanoo. Like, it's just perfect storm for Titans Reloaded, and the perfect play. Great rotation from Dark to be there on time.
Dark, considering maybe dashing back forward for silly Kevin. Choose not to do so. Gank now in mid. Can Chase the Enemy, get something going. ACD. Whole mountain of damage. Needed a little bit more from Slipper Slap there to Kukul Khan. Not in range to deal much return damage, but a chance. That ends up going missing for Chase the Enemy. What I was going to say prior to that 2-kill swing was Ragna, very talented ADC, certainly got to imagine fine with sitting back, just living through the laning phase. You're going to get to a point on Jingwei where you're going to deal a lot of damage, just going to take a little while. But there's still damage in there for Chase the Enemy. Ripley Jr. in on the gank. Empty-handed in mid a few moments ago. But now over to dual lane, but Dark is here as well. A couple of half health bars. Can you get that insta-give on Ripley Jr.? The slipstream does not connect to his desired target. Dark will come up just short, but still hanging around. It's a rotation now out of mid.
Wow.
Clipper slap a chance. But a nice Typhoon from Dark with a couple knockups. Lots of emphasis over here. Trying to chase down the Susano. You got to get something. Maybe it's the purple buff. But Dark goes back in. Oh, goodness! In what I thought was a 3v1. Pull the fast one over on Chase the Enemy. Bandolero close, Ragnan as well. This is messy and a bit awkward, Gore, here around this purple buff.
Yeah, the one thing, and I'm going to roll it back to the first 2 kills that Titans Reloaded got. Ripley Jr. was in the jungle at the time, and then his dual lane died prior to being able to make the gank happen. Then, as you mentioned, failed not necessarily to get anything done in mid. But coming back over here, it's surprising. Most teams, you come up, you get your kill, you get the Ares, Ragnar falls back. I admire immediately going for a little bit of an invade, but after Dark shows up, you'd think, okay, you know what, let's just leave it as is, go farm our own game. I kind of like them staying around just for the fight. Maybe the execution doesn't quite go the way they want. Right now it's 3-1, you only killed the support, it doesn't feel as solid. But I will say, good Cuckoo ult gives me a little bit of hope, right?
Yep,
it nails it right down the narrow pathways of the jungle, able to smack a few around. But it does show what happens if you overstay your welcome sometimes. It gets very dicey, very dangerous, very quick, especially in these early scraps. Now that everyone's 5, it's going to be a little harder to get some of that lockdown.
That's a good point, Cora. I was about to mention ults starting to get hit. Bandolero gets the pull back on the Kami, but flag out and away. ACD under threat once again. Ultimate out from the Hecate, and the teleport back saves ACD for the moment, but there's a dash back in and a pull in! Goodness, Dark is playing so well in these first few minutes. Ripley Jr. on the chase down. Tick damage just avoided by ACD, the thinnest of margins for in this mid lane. We have seen a handful of near kills. But yet again, Chase the Enemy empty-handed. That emphasis on ACD, on the Hecate, certainly been present. And how about this? Bandolero just running circles around the Gold Fury, and unless Chase the Enemy, look at this. Ripley Jr. is just around the corner, so... And it gets just reset a little bit. That's awkward. Yeah, you just got to drop this. I like the idea, but this is starting to get a little bit dicey for Titans Reloaded. Nobody actually ended up going over to check. They maybe could have stuck that, but would have taken a fair bit of time.
Yeah, I think that's the issue. It's not just the can we have gotten it, because I think the way they were playing it, absolutely. It's could we have spent another 40-ish seconds not farming?
Still be over there.
Still be there unnoticed by Chase the Enemy? Like, if my lane opponent is gone for 5 seconds, I'd start thinking that something's gone drastically wrong. That's just an unfortunate position. Yeah, Lestimics. You have one to cover the option in Dark, one to cover the option in Lestimics. There was just nowhere for Silly Kevin to go, making him look pretty silly in that certain situation.
Love Silly Kevin, what a name. Now, gank over in duo lane, airstrike away. Ragnar's got it. Bandolero sticks around, doesn't take too much damage. So Eagles rally, tries to start things off for Kami here. 0-2 in the laning phase. Not exactly what you're hoping for when you stick a warrior over in duo lane. Jude Muffin a bit low as well. Maybe considering a purple buff invade. There's Bandolero on this Ares. But all is well now for the time being. Just a couple sets of beads, Gore, for Chase the Enemy. Slipper Slap, Silly Kevin. All have a set or a pair, or is it one bead? I'm not quite sure, but they've got beads. They're gonna have to keep their eyes peeled for this no escape whenever Bandolero's got it ready to go. Ripley Jr. again makes his presence known. So 4 affected kills for Dark. Only the 1 for Ripley Jr. But Gore, it's not for a lack of trying. This Loki has still felt like he's been all over the map. Yeah,
realistically, the one thing I always admire about Loki is this just rotation power. There's the kill for it.
Links forward, maybe a double now. Finally hitting some pay dirt. This Ripley Jr. Ragnar nearly turns the kill around. Can he just find one more auto? No. And that's got to feel terrible for the Titans Reloaded duo lane. And just like that, Ripley Jr. buys some time, stays in the brush. And how about the ult back from Jude Muffin to make that gank? Not a 1v2, but a 2v2. It's exactly what Chase the Enemy needed. And I stand by it. Ripley Jr. has been trying, and up until that point, had not quite hit those kills.
Honestly, even further, for Jude, that's a really good body block, like just presence of body in the fight, to make sure that none of those shots from Ragna, like there are 2 or 3 that slam into the Athena that should have hit Loki, and just being able to take those to allow Ripley to get the cooldowns back, get the damage out, stay alive, and get the kill. I mean, that's just a good play to let your jungler get into the lead. And now, if you're Titans Reloaded, you kind of have to figure things out.
This could be a great way to get back into it, and it's dark. Back over to duo. Man, there's just been emphasis, a spotlight on the duo lane this game. Deaths all across the board. We've got 8 deaths in the game. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of them over in the duo lane. Okay, jungle 1v1 here. What does Bandolero choose to do? Oh man, this is awkward for Ripley Jr. That's a shutdown for Ragna. All things considered, a nice get back kill. And a no escape means Zipper slaps into some trouble as well. That is just awkward. I'm not sure exactly what happens there. Chase the Enemy just a bit out of position. And unfortunately for them, Titans Reloaded find themselves at the doorstep of the Gold Fury. A bit easier when you got 4 team members instead of just the 2. Jude Muffin not in range for the steal. Gold Fury number 1 plus 2 kills for Titans Reloaded.
Now, there's a world, and I will say, even if Jude Muffin dashes and goes for a steal there, it's a very slim window, and assuming you don't get it, you just die. So I admire the presence, much like I admire the willingness to immediately go for a fight. Not going to be able to find pressure on the Ares or anything like that. Oh, I guess they find the pressure. They don't find the kill in terms of this side of the map. And the thing is we haven't really gotten to see as much of the rotations. Like, we've seen Titans Reload and Chase the Enemy, as you mentioned, in some moments of getting caught out on either side. Maybe favoring Titans Reloaded a little bit more by now. But, like, we haven't gotten to see Lestimics really rotate in a big team fight. And I imagine adding the Bacchus and the Ama into the fray, especially the Ama who's 2 levels up right now, could really change the pace of the game, but not the way Chase the Enemy would like.
Titans Reloaded, they are sitting pretty here, 4K ahead at the 10.5 minute mark. And something I noticed, I don't know how often an ADC is like heavily ahead in the damage charts at the 10-minute mark. Normally it's over in solo lane, but Ragna is absolutely bopping, and whenever that chart ticks back over there, I'll call out our attention to it. He was ahead by like double of everyone else. Yeah, I mean 8.6K. So all this fighting's been happening over in duo. Ragna on the quote late game Jing Wei has just been dishing damage, and he's gonna have to do a little bit more here, maybe more than he's got. The knock up and the dash away, well timed. And I just think, Gore, that just tells you where the fighting's been happening, as we just talked about. And Ragna being able to live and be 3-1, and that latest kill was a shutdown under Ripley Jr. Tends to bode well in getting the Jing Wei online. A fight now in the back camps of Titans Reloaded. Eagles rally away. This is full-on disengage for Chase the Enemy, but Ragnar still got some chase down. How about the front line Jing Wei? As in the back, there's a dazzling offensive for Lestimics. And goodness, when the Amaterasu rotates over, it's not going to feel good for Chase the Enemy. There's no counter rotation. Silly Kevin, a bit late to the party, teleports over, but look at him over in dual lane now. Just channeling his back. Nothing there for the Bacchus. Just been outpaced by the Amaterasu.
Yeah, and the rotations as well, right? Being able to come in, like you already mentioned, you've got the level, you've got gold, you have the solo kill that happened on right already. I guess it wasn't a solo kill, it was a gank. But you really are just farming better. I mean, looking at it, almost 150 gold per minute more coming out for the Ama, which is an insane farm rate, actually, to be able to pick this up. And finding that control, again, the rotations, we've seen that an Ama can do a lot of damage. And even though it was nerfed from, like, last week, it's still a lot of damage in the manner of a little bit of time. Yeah. And you had kind of mentioned it, but this Jing Wei, who, because of I think the nature of this lane and Kami going for the Bologna, has kind of padded the damage stats, I would say, a little bit, over 2 times as much as the next highest player. It's only going to be hitting harder the more items you get. I mean, Ragna's really going to start hitting that late game stride.
Yeah, we're there. We've arrived. Ragnar just needs the fight to be brought to him. Ares with a rare entire miss. Bandolero maybe thinking that there were more in range than ended up being there. So a couple ultimates down over here on left. But yeah, I like this. Play with some confidence behind your ADC. That's a level 12 Jingwei. And watch what Ragnar can get done. It's a up-down for the Athena. Don't see those too often. Just for the prots and a little bit of safety. Muffin. Stealth now from the Loki. Gets the damage out on the Dark, but what does it cost? Slipper Slap sends Spirit of the 9 Winds. Or through the fight. That's a 1-for-1 trade, but still a rotation chance here for Chase the Enemy, and not seeing Titans reloaded in so many of these awkward positions. But Eagles Rally starts it off. Ragnar still up and over, has that ultimate and gets in and out just fine. Gets the execute. ACD is in as well. The opposite of what Chase the Enemy are looking for in their own jungle. Dazzling offensive from Lastimics. They just hand deliver a few more. And I think that's right where we're headed. Why not get the other carry involved? A double out of the mid lane makes a killing spree for ACD.
I'm a little surprised they didn't chase that kill down a little more, and maybe even more so now after seeing the damage that ACD is able to do. I mean, it's been a little bit since we've gotten to see a Hecate get online and ahead, at least in the games that I've been on, so it's really refreshing and kind of a good reminder that it's a lot more damage than you'd expect. And sometimes in the blink of an eye, really, really fun god, and again, just a little bit of pressure. That was all without Dark, by the way. Dark dies super early on. Like, there were several moments where all I could think was, if you had a Susanoo to pull people back into the fight right now, it'd be so much freer, much like this fight up against Kami, where you just have so much control coming in from Dark. I kept thinking that about Slipper Slap. I thought it about Ripley. I thought it about Jude. I thought it about Kami. I thought it about Kevin. Like, everybody that was involved in that fight around the mid tier 2 and in the mid jungle. It just felt like that was going to be like a big difference maker of, oh, you don't have the Susanoo. Yes, you've got the damage, but the CC is going to not be there. Luckily, Chase the Enemy maybe a little too far, and Titans Reloaded were able to capitalize on it. But realistically, that again, most of it was like a 4v4, maybe a 4v5. So like, if you add Dark into the mix, suddenly it becomes a very, very drastically different fight. And this Susanoo is going to be hitting pretty hard.
Yeah, I'm thinking Chase the Enemy maybe thought a bit too much. Overthought their draft here. Admired the thoughts. And a steal for Chase the Enemy, who ended up getting the second Gold Fury of the game. If you're going to spend the Spirit of the 9 Winds, you better get the objective. And Lastimics will return the favor with a kill on a Slipper Slap. So a small moment of benefit for Chase the Enemy, stealing away that Gold Fury, but you end up trading out a couple more kills. Gore, I mean, the kills have been happening all over the map, don't get me wrong, but 9 of the 15 kills find themselves planted in the duo lane. I love creativity. I love funky drafts. Game's not over. But 10K down at 16 minutes doesn't feel good. Wondering if maybe it was an overthink and maybe just a misguided thought process here from Chase the Enemy, and see how the rest of this game turns out. But that's something a little bit different maybe for game 2, because Ragnar is just all over the map. I mean, level 15, 4 levels ahead. You got 3 levels for Lastimics and solo, which I don't think I haven't talked enough about. I mean, it's been a very quiet lead that's been built up, but rotated into a few kills. Really nowhere on the map can go wrong. It feels like the Titans Reloaded. Wonder if they could consider not only pulling a kill onto the Pyromancer, the Vuvuzelas ring out, as I was saying yesterday. Maybe an early Fire Giant here would feel just fine for Titans Reloaded.
Now, if you're looking at the duo lane for Chase the Enemy, as you had mentioned, kind of rough. But admittedly, I think that's going to happen to a lot of lanes. Maybe not to every carry. But when you die from a really early gank, right, both of you, not just one, but both end up going down, you lose a lot of farm. And then since then, it has been like a couple of ganks gone wrong. Dark really facilitating Ragnar. Ragnar specifically being on Jingwei, meaning that you're a little safer, you've got a little more wiggle room, you have a lot of good disengage as well. So unless they're chasing you down into the tower and finding success, you're in a good spot.
I wonder if Slipper Slap is even going to try this.
Got the ult.
Fire Giant's a bit slow. Spirit of the 9 Winds is around the corner. We're not worried about Jude Muffin. The Kukul Khan makes some magic happen once again. Nope. Sorry. Sorry I brought it up, but there is still a steal chance. And I don't think it happens here. It was in for Ripley Jr. But if I'm reading those fiery torsos correctly, it's Titans Reloaded with Fire Giant and 3. Or I hesitate to say it, but I'm thinking this one might be over. Titans Reloaded somehow go sideways. They're 13K ahead and an 18-minute Fire Giant on top.
Yeah, and the reason I'm inclined to agree with you on it
Tell me, Gore, why are you inclined to agree?
Well, normally in a gold lead like this, I'd be like, all right, let's talk about defense. The downside is that your defense is not going to be great because you don't have a lot of range, more melee characters than anything. And the other half of it is that the experience is playing against you maybe just as hard, if not harder than the gold. 4 levels in solo, 2 in the jungle, 4 in mid, 2 in support, and 2 for your carries, although maybe a little closer to 3 if I remember where Ragna's positioning has been at. It just feels like not only money-wise, monetarily, are they doing a little bit better, along with the items, which you can see manifesting, but really just the play on field and the level is playing into it here for Titans Reloaded. And they've been doing a great job. I will put a caveat, put a little asterisk on something I'd mentioned in Picks and Bans, which is that Slipper Slap, I think because of that Gold Fury steal and a few of the other ults that he's thrown out, it maybe is officially on my list of players I'm okay seeing the Google gone on, which means that I have to figure out the new statistics for how many I like and how many I don't like. But what you're looking for a defense here, and what you would need to have happen, is a crazy Kukul Connell into a really good combo with a Loki to make sure somebody, maybe multiple, die.
Well, the dying's happening, Gore, but not quite on the side that Chase the Enemy are hoping. They're getting melted away at here. And it's probably one of the least dramatic ends to a game we've seen. Titans Reloaded just get to pick and choose when they want to go in here. They'll take down the left side Phoenix. Jude Muffin burnt down just a moment ago. Remember, beads used on the Kukul Khan a second ago. Nearly ACD on the fadeaway. So minions just not quite in the base yet, but I think maybe after that you're looking at a game-ending push. Still a couple towers over and right as well, so that factors in. Both Tier 1 and Tier 2 in solo lane still stand.
Have they backed yet, even? Like, I actually don't know. Yeah, look at the golden hand.
Yeah,
I was wondering, I was like, it feels like they should be hitting a little harder. I was like, this Ares, like, you're level 15, but that Phoenix is hitting you bizarrely, like, more than I would be expecting.
Like 7K
and I looked
of a gold lead.
Yeah, and all of it's in their pocket right now.
Right.
They just have not really gotten that big boost, and now they, guess what, have a Gold Fury in pocket. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see Tier 3 items that just straight up get bought.
Yeah, that was like 8K of gold. You know, we look at the gold lead, and they're what? 18,000 ahead. About 8,000 of that is getting spent right now. They were about 10K right after that Fire Giant. And 8,000 were sitting in their pockets.
Holy.
3K
Dark was almost behind in build. Like, Dark was 3 items in, and you had Ripley with 3 items and a Tier 2. Yeah. Dark was looking behind in itemization. Now it looks a little more accurate, a little more representative.
Feels a little bit better. Yeah, filled out now. God, that is a power spike. Goodness gracious. I kind of want to just see what happens with Dark here. I mean, you know, it's less intriguing when it's this lopsided. Again, Chase the Enemy, you're going to need a Miracle Spirit of the 9 Winds, maybe a big old taunt. You kind of just have to wombo everybody, and even then, TBD. Bandolero, the Ares, waiting on that Talisman of Purification to come back. So, that opportunity for massive all-at-once CC, maybe for Chase the Enemy, but what I look for is a Castrar, big numbers and health bars that evaporate. Dark has the ability to do those. So. Yeah, I think we just might, because that's the fun stuff to watch. So while the right side Phoenix gets sieged, my eyes peel towards the left a little bit, and it's Kami, who's almost insta-gipped by Dark, and Ragna finishes off the kill. Titans Reloaded have swung from minute 1, and who else but Dark to finish off this game with 2, potentially a 3rd, but everyone's getting involved, and Titans Reloaded with ease will take game 1.
Yeah, there was a little bit of fight back early on. It just got out of hand really fast, right? I mean, you're talking, what, a double kill in the duo lane, or at least 1 kill. One goes onto the Ares, 1 goes onto Ragna, and that's the start of the game. You get rid of the duo lane, that you get free farm, you get to invade, like, you get so much control over there. And then a lot of the return kills just never really found the home they needed to, or even when
Yeah.
they did, they started to slow down just a little too much. And I feel like the last moment we saw that felt like it was everything prior to that was 50-50 and everything after that was Titans Reloaded was the kill in solo lane, specifically Lestimix covering the option, like the Bacchus
Yeah.
jumped over the wall. The minute that death happened, I feel like we stopped seeing anything come up chase the enemy outside of the one Gold Fury steal. Everything outside of that was kills, farm, you name it, in favor of Titans Reloaded.
Yeah, and I'm glad, like, in the middle of that game you talked about that early gank, and hearing your breakdown talk about that early double kill, because it's easy for me to talk about how the Bologna ADC just didn't work, but like
Yeah.
worst case scenario almost essentially right off the bat there. So it's always going to be difficult to climb out of that. And so not often we get to really talk about, all right, how do you totally refactor your draft and your priority? That's what I'm excited and interested to see from Chase the Enemy. Do you get a bit more standard? Do you stick with the wacky and the slightly unique? We'll find out. Game number 2 between Titans Reloaded and Chase the Enemy coming up next.
What did we have? What did we lose? Nobody knows, nobody moves. It never starts.
And then I said, that's not Bacchus, that's Bilson's mother. That one always makes me laugh. But enough about my weekend. Hey, Gormizer, what's new with you?
Just picked up my SMITE 2 Founders Edition.
Very nice.
Purchased it on my preferred gaming platform just yesterday.
Nice skin.
It's Cacodemon Ymir. It comes with all SMITE 2 gods. Forever.
That's very cool, Gormizer, but that's nothing. Look at this. Night Stalker Neath and Ascension passes for 11 Alpha Launch gods. What do you think?
Geez, that is really super. How'd a nitwit like you get so tasteful?
Can't believe that Dandy prefers Chelly's Founders Edition to mine.
Very nice. Impressive. Let's see JMax Founder Edition.
Look at that avatar, badge, and title. The tasteful thickness of Tier 5 Fallen Zeusia. Oh my god, it even comes with Ascension passes for all 23 Alpha gods.
Don't be like this psycho and upgrade your Founders Edition, so you don't miss out on Night Stalker Neath, Tier 5 Fallen Zeus, and Ascension passes for the first 23 gods. Upgrade today.
The man himself, still with me here on Cast. Gore, what a bit of acting that was from you. I think that's my favorite. My favorite ad. That's a bit played out now, and now I just get to talk to the guy who was in the ad himself. Was that I had to get into character type moment for you, or did you really tap into something natural there for yourself?
What was really funny was Tristan at one point. He had the idea, and like we were sitting there, sitting in our desks, and he's just kind of leaning back, and he goes, "Gore, you seem like you have something going on, like underneath all that happiness." It's just like, thanks, man. And that's how I nailed the role, was just by being in the room at the right time.
Gore, you nailed the role, and you got the point across. And the point is that there are a variety of upgrades available for the SMITE 2 Founders Edition. So if you've been using that exclamation point access in chat and getting access to the game, but you want to grab some of these rewards, or you have a lower tier and want to upgrade to a higher tier, here are some of the cool things that you can get. Of course, full game access. Of course. I think that second list down, SMITE 2 Gods Forever, one of the best values you can possibly get in all of gaming. 2x Legacy Gems, also really important, as well as a Ymir skin across all three. And then you start to add on some really cool stuff as you get further to the right. The Ascension Pass, an awesome addition to SMITE 2. You want the Neath skin? Get the second tier. If you want the Neath and a Fallen Zeus skin, maybe start to consider that Ultimate Edition. So some cool options here for the SMITE 2 Founders Editions, all of which have some great value. And if nothing else, we get to keep watching Gormizer and his fantastic acting role. I'm not kidding. One of my favorites. We've done some cool stuff. I think back to some of the Paladins, like item ad reads where we like, what was it, Rejuve tape, where we slap stuff on cars. Yeah, that was pretty good years ago. But Gore, you know who played a really good role in game number 1 was Titans Reloaded, particularly their duo lane really got things going. A lot of that funneled through their jungler Dark with the first couple of kills, kind of spoon-fed to that side of the map. But everything just kind of snowballed from there. ACD picked up some assistance on rotations. Listimics looked great. It was a well-rounded win for Titans Reloaded.
Yeah, again, just the way that they approach things from the very beginning, it's just kind of unfortunate. Like, Ripley Jr. was going for a gank to help out Jude and Kami, and just beat to the punch by Dark. Like, that's the beginning of the game in a nutshell. Dark helps facilitate the duo lane of Chase the Enemy dying.
Yep.
And Ripley Jr. was left kind of just wandering the jungle, not much to do, and still gets a lot done. All of the kills, or almost all of the kills that Chase the Enemy are able to pick up, go to the Loki. I think good presence, good rotations, and tries to show up, does show up pretty much everywhere, but every time it felt like it just came a little bit short after a little while, right? We watched a point in mid where things just didn't go your way, and, you know, again, didn't quite find the gank that they were looking for. In duo, where you finally get a kill, but then there's like this weird, awkward overstay, and suddenly it turns into a like 4-on-4 fight, and it kind of goes even. And so there were moments where it felt like, hey, this is a pick and retreat. This is a pick and retreat. Those just didn't happen. We got to see pick and stay too long. Pick, but actually we didn't get the pick at all. And so I want to see them maybe try to find those kills again, but jump out when you need to just get your hands off and make sure, like, get the goal, get away.
Get the win. I think one of the things we talked about after game 1 was to chase the enemy, stick with this unique style of draft, or they change things up. We'll find the answers to that here in picks and bans for game number 2. And I guess most of the draft was fine outside of the duo lane being a bit funky. And even that wasn't, I mean, we've seen Balota ADC before, you know, it wasn't like some chaotic style of draft. I was wondering, and my camera's a little dark. I think you can just see, wait, wrong side. Ramsey's paws. She's taking a little nap right there around the corner from me. But she's so funny. I don't know how either of your 2 dogs are, Gore. If I ever turn around and try to like get her to come to me, there's something about sitting at my desk space that she like freaks out. She'll always lay near me, but the moment I try to like pick her up and get her near the camera, she like hunkers away. It's the strangest thing. Camera shy, I guess. Wouldn't say it runs in the family, but it does with her. Fenrir does make an appearance. He's not camera shy. He's a dog who's excited to get on the camera. And Gore, not banned out. I think Fenrir has been a heavy ban priority across EMEA and North America. Fenrir, though, left unbanned and selected for the first pick.
I actually really like this from Titans Reloaded as well, because when your first pick, I think, especially with the way Baron's been, like, Baron has been seen as a must ban. Someone's going to do it. If you ban it, that means that you're giving the option of what the enemy doesn't want to deal with, you know, over to them. But if your first pick, I like this more. You know what? We're going to ban a mid laner. We're going to let you choose. Are we getting Baron, or are we getting something else that's a top priority? Cool, you're banning Baron. We'll get Fenrir, the quote-unquote best god in the game, like the first pick god of the game right now. You can do whatever you want at that point if you're chasing the enemy. Titans Reloaded got the draft, or at least started the draft the way they wanted to. I do like how they respond, right? I think the Loki worked out relatively well. Ripley Jr. played it cleanly. It's just a lot of the lanes and a few other things got out of hand a little too fast, and there wasn't anything the Loki could do on their own. I also love picking up the Ama. Change up Titans Reloaded's draft. You get a very powerful pick, in my opinion. I'm kind of surprised. I feel like every time I see her, she's been incredibly strong, and most of the time I've seen her kind of in the middle of the draft. So I want to see her priority maybe bumped up a little bit, and I think that's a good call from Chase the Enemy to do exactly that, to bump that priority just a little bit to make sure that you're not giving it over to Titans Reloaded again.
Yep. I think Sol and Neath. Oh, you can't. Ramsey is so weird. She flips over on her back when she sleeps. I'm sorry. So that's her. God, I can't do this. That's her belly right there, and that's her front paws. Yeah, she's flipped over on her. I think it's a cooling mechanism. I've also read it means they're very comfortable in their environment, which makes me happy. Supposedly it's an Australian Shepherd thing. They just love to just flip over and paws up, sleep on their back. Anyway, enough about my dog.
It is absolutely adorable.
It's very cute. Anyway, Titans Reloaded finalized their draft here with a Mordred. So again, Gore, seems still pretty standard here from Titans Reloaded. What I was going to say before my dog distracted me is that I like what I'm seeing from Chase the Enemy more here in Game 2. Love the creativity. I'm a fan of trying new things. Didn't quite work, and we want to avoid being knocked out. Remember, if Chase the Enemy lose here, they're out of the Swiss stage of the SMITE 2 Founder Series, and so this is your last big swing, and at least draft-wise, looks like they've connected a little bit better.
Yeah, I like this draft a lot more, I think, from top to bottom. The Neath Soul combo, we mentioned it a lot yesterday while we were watching EMEA, but with the basic attack changes, no longer base strength, but literally having a basic attack number that you're tied to, Soul and Neath, to me, it really do maybe escalate. I think Neath, particularly, I prefer in mid in this kind of situation. I think Soul is kind of sneaky good again. Maybe not, again, something that I'd prioritize over like the Jing Wei, which I think prior to Jing Wei's addition, she was kind of the top tier hunter. She was really good with crit, things like that. Soul instead gets to come in, and I think that'll be a good boxing match. You have good survivability, you've got good lane clear. The survivability I'm going to double back to because I feel like that's a very important aspect considering how the last game went, along with the Ares. So you've got some more aggression, you've got a little bit more control. Neath in mid, global presence, even if it's not mid, global presence. But being able to lean a little bit more into the ability based, right? Having a lot of burst damage.
Yeah.
I think she brings a lot to the table. And I already mentioned how much I like the Ama and the Loki. You've got good engage on this team. You've got a good backline. You've got good dive in the Loki and the Ama. So I really do think Chase the Enemy, like you had said, change the draft. And they do it in such a good way that it makes me really excited to see what this game is going to be like for them.
Yeah, that late game scares me for Chase the Enemy. I think you get online, and you might just be able to... Oh, she's kicking her legs. There's something about dogs, man. I don't know. Doesn't it just, like, warm your soul?
Oh, yeah.
Dogs heal everything. They're the best of us. Just laying on her back in the background of my camera. I like some of the flexibility that this Titans Reloaded draft brings, though, Gore, because I think, you could make an argument for a lot of these picks in a handful of... Here's what I'll say. We've seen the Fenrir, the Athena, and the Mordred in each of the roles where they could be placed. Typically, we've seen Fenrir in support, but Fenrir jungle is not some new chaotic thing. Maybe less Fenrir solo, but Mordred we've seen in the jungle before. We've also seen solo. Athena we've seen support and also in the jungle. So I think there's some flexibility here depending on where Titans Reloaded feel like they're going to find that early pressure and feel like they're maybe going to be able to tap into an advantage. Athena continues to be highly prioritized here, Gore, and so much of that is that insta-rotation potential.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Titans Reloaded, depending on where you want to place that, Fenrir plus Athena, you sort of combine those two with one another. Mordred leads the way. I love that rotation power that Titans Reloaded are bringing here to game 2.
I'm very excited to watch Titans Reloaded, mainly because this draft, I feel like Chase the Enemy have a good draft as well for this same style, but Chase the Enemy, there are a few gods that I'm like, early game, mid game, finding some strengths and strides. Titans Reloaded, I lean on the Fenrir a little early, maybe Cuckoo, maybe Mordred, but realistically, the longer the game goes for Titans Reloaded, or the further ahead they're able to get, the stronger this draft gets, right? Every single one of them, I mean, just late game, by the time they find it, is incredibly, incredibly powerful. The Fenrir, the amount of control and disruption I've been seeing from it as well, is absolutely insane. Also worth mentioning that while, and this is just instinct by me, it's usually easy to assume Fenrir jungle, Athena support, but the last couple of times I've seen that in game, it's been the opposite. Yeah. And so the balance, and like you said, having that rotation power from Athena, the disruption and capabilities from Fenrir, like both of them, you could swap them in and out to either role. I'm going to be behind it because I think Titans Reloaded have some good players to make it happen. I think Chase the Enemy are going to have to figure out how to deal with the rotation, the mobility. Loki can show up all over the place, but you're going to need a lot to really help balance things out.
Titans Reloaded, they look really good in game number 1. Can they go 2-0, move themselves on to the 2-2 matches next week? And we'll find out. Game 2, starting right now. Chase the Enemy need to not only reverse the result from game 1, but the momentum in its entirety. We were wrong, Gore Miser. It is a Mordred in the jungle. That'll put Listimics on Fenrir solo.
Well,
which admittedly, that was the last thing I was going to guess.
Yeah, I was going to say, you could have left me on Bigs and Bands for 20 minutes. I never would have got there.
I know, I think I was set on Mordred being solo. And then I was just trying to decide between Athena and Fenrir, between support and jungle. But but again, it's sort of what I was saying. Mordred jungle is not unheard of, right? It's actually a medium popularity pick, but I think that Fenrir solo is maybe what surprises me the most here, but also something we've seen before. But the matchup against the Amaterasu, we'll see how the Fenrir ends up doing. I think jungle pressure is going to be in the name of the game, as we so often see. Loki a bit more standard, but I think dark on this Mordred, Gore. I mean, similar potential in the jungle. To get some of those rotations, get that ultimate online, get a gank going right away.
I have no doubt, like, Fenrir is a really, really solid god. And I have no doubts in Listimics to make something happen. That is going to be a very interesting lane, though, just on the merits of the amount of time, like, outside of casuals, the amount of times I've seen Fenrir solo is very, 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 very low. And so it's gonna be a surprise for me overall to see what it's going to be like.
Yep.
I do think he's got a decent lane phase, right? Brutalize being able to kind of help smack some minions. You've got stun, you got setup. It also means that it's going to be fun to watch Dark on this Mordred, mainly just to see how aggressive you can be. I feel like Fenrir has a little bit more early game aggression. Loki will have a little bit more early game aggression, but that's not slowing Dark down at all.
Clearly not. Dark wants to fight. At level 2, ACD is low. Oh goodness, slipper slap. Nearly had first blood. Dark just in play separator. Naturally do a little bit more. Oh, the damage! The DOT! Gotta expect the Sunder. Terrible start for Chase the Enemy. It's exactly what happened. No, it's not. It's not at all what happened in game 1. But the same person gets a couple of kills. It's an early jungle kill is what I'm trying to say. For Titans Reloaded, but this time it's on the Mordred. First blood still falls to the Titans Reloaded jungle.
And look, that, I mean, Sunder has been a less picked relic choice for the last few weeks. That's a little bit of what it'll bring to the table, right? You have that burst. Like, I did not expect that to turn into a kill, but Dark reads the situation perfectly, gets the amount of damage. I thought was just making a play to save ICD. Does save ACD and keeps them, you know, alive well. Makes sure that the Cuckoo doesn't fall behind. In fact, if anything, is now ahead by a level because of the farm they've been able to pick up. But Dark being able to find the first blood on top of that, I mean, that is a great start for your jungle. And so far, I haven't seen Chase the Enemy having a lot of control pretty much anywhere else on the map. I mean, Dual Lane has been pushed under tower the entire time. And the Ama maybe still waiting. I mean, your early game versus a Fenrir, you're a warrior, you're going to have a little more health. Like, you are more frontline based, but you're still going to need assistance to get through that assassin, especially one that has as much mobility as a Fenrir.
Dark now with a little wind in their sails. Something we were curious about, how the solo lane matchup go. Well, the assistance of the junglers will get a 2v2, up down for the double stun. And now Lystemix has got to get out. Dark, just a couple more autos is all he needs, but silly Kevin's got to dash away. In goes Ripley Jr., stuck around too long. And on God, that was just awkward. Ripley Jr. sticks around in the minion wave, maybe realizes he's going to get chased down.
Yep.
Dark was maybe looking for a overextended silly Kevin. Everywhere this Mordred goes, death seems to follow. Man, terrible timing. Silly Kevin's blue buff's about to respawn. Looks like Dark will be able to pick it back up, and Lystemix picks up silly Kevin. Man, disaster strikes on the opposite side of the map from game 1. Now it's suddenly the solo lane that Dark is impacting.
And I love, look, Ragnar, the simplest thing Ragnar has done is step left or right.
Yep.
But it's got to feel bad when you're slipper slap or really anybody on Chase the Enemy there where nothing connects. And it's just because Ragnar, again, really, really good game sense to have the wherewithal to be like, okay, they're going to throw out an auto, now step to the left. They're going to throw out the chains, now step to the right. Just weaving throughout that, little tiny jukes. But that changes that from potentially being the first kill for Chase the Enemy to this being 3-0, and like you had even said, with the Ragnarok specifically picking up and dragging Silly Kevin out, using the stealth grass perfectly right around the corner. I mean, it's just putting pressure on.
No escape, pulls back one. Whoa! Ragnar goes in with the airstrike. But there's a jungler here, Ripley Jr. Looking for a kill on the Bandolero. Oh, God! No! It's Dark from out of nowhere. Trays back a kill. Ripley Jr. drops. But it's Bandolero on the Athena who dies off as well. Who gets the kill? It's Kami who snags one for Chase the Enemy here. So not all is lost, but it was a bit of a jump scare there. Out of nowhere, the Mordred comes running on through the middle of that fight.
If you take that as kill for kill, then it feels pretty good. Just on that metric. Yeah. Once you realize it was Jungle, who's 0-3 and down 2 levels for support, who admittedly the Athena hasn't hit level 5 yet, so maybe you have something going there. It doesn't feel as good anymore. I mean, this has been an electric early start, and that's such a good rotation. Yeah, if you're the Athena here, maybe it sucks a little bit because you're the one who's kind of sacrificed. You make a pretty good play to get a distance. but then the rotation in, I mean, Dark just being in the perfect place to make sure that the lockdown exists. And it
Here we
feels
go
like
again.
in the same spot right here, just the damage from this orbit is insane.
Man, Dark.
Woo.
Making it work. ACD nearly on the fadeaway. Jude Muffin does have no escape. No beads right now for Titans Reloaded either. No Talisman of Purification, so late opportunity. Oh, Ragnarok looking for the solo kill. Sunder's out as well. One more, one more, one more, one more. He's got it. Lastimics gets the kill on a silly Kevin. Oh man, it was a Gold Fury.
Hey, it worked this time.
What the heck is going on? Yeah, the early Gold Fury works out. I don't think that 4K down at 6.5 minutes is good. And unfortunately, that's the case that Chase the Enemy find themselves facing.
Yeah, it is not. I'm checking my notes. Definitely
in
not
the
the
bad
best
column?
place to be, as it turns out. This amount of gold this early on, well, it's the Gold Fury, really, right? The kills are already a little out of hand. The experience is out of hand because of that, because of a lot of invades off the back of them. But you still have some late game power spikes, things like that. And I realize I'm talking about that 7 minutes in. So realistically, I guess mid game power spikes is what I should be looking at. The next item, the next 2 items, you know, for Chase the Enemy, maybe you're a little bit behind, but those could really create some opportunities for you. The Gold Fury being able to make it an even bigger deficit. Actually, if you could kill off Ragnar here, it would be amazing for you. But you've got Dark in the corner. I just don't know if it's going to work out.
Whoa, it's all set up for Dark. Again on this Mordred, just cannot be stopped. Needs to finish off a kill though. Ragnar dashes away. Then assassinate in, stun, and a return for Ripley Jr. Both junglers now with the kill early in this fight. Cleave damage out. But the Athena stands tall. Gets a kill to boot. So still a 2-for-1 trade. Ragnar will use a little bit of everything there to stay alive. But again, a dead Ripley Jr. while Dark is able to get a kill and stay on the map and farm up. I mean, it's a good counter rotation from Chase the Enemy, but Mordred is just left its mark really all over the map so far.
Yeah, I think first off, it's a great kill for Ripley, and I want to highlight it while I can because it gained a lot of experience to farm over the last couple of minutes. We were talking 2 to 3 levels behind. The downside is Dark is making plays like this against Kami where unpunished for, I mean, I would even say maybe even a little bit of over-aggression, right? Just running them down. 5-0-3. The Mordred is just playing all over the place, is grabbing people. The setup is good. The lockdown is good. Dark and the team surrounding him are just making this game look way easier than it is.
I actually think the gold lead is worse in Game 2 than it was in Game 1. I think we hit...
Oh yeah, faster strides.
Yeah, which I did not expect. I mean, you needed some time for this Neath and this Soul to wind up. ACD! Ooh! Got him! On the fadeaway. Slipper slap can't get away. Too much cleave and a rotation in. Man, we are just coming apart at the seams here, aren't we, in game number 2. Ragnar's 2 levels up here. Still maybe not fully comfortable in taking that fight. A bit lower in the HP department. Looking for that Mordred. When's it going to happen again? When is Dark going to rotate through? It could happen here in mid. It's going to happen here in mid. I'm sorry to say, Jude Muffin, but you've been caught out, gobbled up, and eaten by Titans Reloaded. Everyone in on the assist here, and it could be a mid lane tier 1 tower. Man, I mean, Gore, I guess the silver lining is you've got double ADC and a Loki that, if you can get to late game, do pretty good.
Yeah, it's the
Yeah,
hunkering down and getting the late game part. That's going to be the I mean, first off, Golden Hand is absolutely wild when you're 10 minutes in and you just kind of, 4 or 5 of you have 1,100 gold. But yeah, that's the chart that I was really worried about. The net worth, where your Fenrir is 2,000 gold up alone over his lane opponent. And everybody, I mean, even your support is 200 gold up their best farmer. And unfortunately for Silly Kevin, you're not getting a lot of farm right now.
Yeah, really, I mean, at this point, what? It's going to take a throw or 2 for Titans Reloaded to...
Maybe 5.
To fall. And I'm surprised Chase the Enemy are giving anything the time of day here. Get a shutdown. So little by little, Maybe a second kill here.
This could actually be massive.
Jude Muffin has enough damage, but Slipper Slap does. Far from clean. 3 for 2. That's about as good as it's been with 2 shutdowns. Wow, 2 perfect targets. So 3 for 2.
I'd be willing to say that might have actually been Chase the Enemy's victory.
Could have been worth. Could have been worth. They lose in the just number of kills department. But it's only by 1. 2 of them are shutdowns. So this is where teams score, and it's when you're building up that team chemistry can falter a little bit when you get, all right, we're too aggressive. We had too much of a lead. Toe that line a little bit too close. I mean, you need about 15 more of those to get Chase the Enemy back to even, but one step now for Chase the Enemy.
I'm watching this back from, well, I was going to say this back, but it says a double taunt.
And maybe a double kill if Bandolero can add a little bit more damage. Man, Kami just did almost nothing there with that ultimate, huh? Yeah. Yeah, double kill, and the Athena deserves it. A double taunt a couple of times, turned around from Soul. Massive ultimate hits everyone and does nothing. Oh, man! Now Bandolero's going to go over to the solo lane. Talk about making an impact, silly Kevin. Kills her for Titans Reloaded. Add another for Listemics. It's a rampage. The one killing spree that's still on the map is over in the solo lane. So for every one good, decent shutdown moment we got for Chase the Enemy, there's about 15 kills that are happening for Titans Reloaded, who are 10k ahead, and the 2 carries are going to look for the Fury.
I have a feeling that it's not going to be too difficult for them. I don't even know if Chase the Enemy can reply in time, let alone try to contest. And yeah, it was the Ares saw it, but there's only so much you can do. If anything, this might be worse because Mordred's here to set something up.
Wow, Jude Muffin. Get anyone on that pole. I love what I've seen from Ragna the last couple of games. Top player damage again at 13 minutes. Was far and away ahead of game 1. Just slightly ahead here in game 2. Really now pick ban-wise, I'm curious that Titans Reloaded was able to get the Jingwei for Ragna again. I mean, looked so solid in game 1. Dark. There's a lot of that driving force, as we mentioned earlier in the laning phase, but Ragnar just looks far too comfortable on this pick, and the Jingwei is already swinging. And it's a good point, I think, Gore. I mean, we talk so much about the late game of the Neath and the Soul and the Loki, but also talking about a Jingwei here who's going to be able to just shred, and is already shredding, already there.
Plus a Fenrir, plus the way Mordred's been playing.
Right. Yeah, should be another kill here on the silly Kevin.
20 minutes into this game could be absolutely, assuming we even make it to 20 minutes at this rate.
Yeah, we might. What was last game, like 19 minutes, something like that, and this one's a bit faster. The tower, an afterthought for Listemics here. Will be another kill for Titans Reloaded. Been a forgettable game for silly Kevin. 0-5 on the Amaterasu. Just tank up the tower, kill it off. Why not? Chance for Ripley Jr. A chance to die because guess who's behind you? An Athena.
Oh.
And that was crazy from the Zephyr. One tap, not really. Half tap onto Ripley Jr. Unlucky, can't go there. Slipper slap. And ACD with a double kill. All right, we're coming apart at the seams here. We are 14k ahead of 14 minutes. Talk about a Fury, talk about a Fire Giant, talk about a Pyromancer, a little bit of everything here for Titans Reloaded. And unfortunately, unless Chase the Enemy find a big turnaround here, this will be the last we see of them in the Swiss stage.
Yeah, the thing that has been restricting Titans Reloaded from running fully away from this game, or with this game, is that the spawn timers of the objectives they could be absolutely demolishing has just been against them, right? Like, I'm all for a 15-minute Fire Giant, and they should be, but realistically, it's having to wait, right, for these things to come in and be available for them. Pyromancer should be pretty easy. You're already up ahead. Yeah, so the Fire Giant, just walk in and yoink it. There's not much. Like, if Chase the Enemy... I love Hail Mary plays. This might be the only opportunity you have to get back in here is jump into the Fire Giant pit. But realistically, your team would probably just get wiped. And you would have... it would be the end of the game as opposed to maybe trying to make something else happen. So maybe go for the defense. I like the defense a lot more this time around than I did in game 1. I don't know if I like it when it's almost 20,000 gold down, but, you know, and I do like it a little bit more, especially I was going to say, with the Ama and the Soul and the abilities to maybe thwart some aggression there. But if you're losing people left and right, this might be a pretty easy Phoenix for Titans Reloaded on right.
See, yeah, brutalize, bop, 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 bop. And, oh.
Okay, wait, hold on.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Unstoppable for Listemics, who's put together a really nice game here. Hey, by the way, the right side Phoenix being sieged. Ripley Jr. takes down a left side tier 1 tower. Still maybe a bit early in the game to be tanking up a Phoenix with no minions. So instead, just turn your eyes towards the tier 2s. How do we get here? I mean, I guess Dark and Listemics over in Soul Lane started us off, and then Dark just kept things going. 16 of 23
Yeah, Dark did not stop for a while.
And Valero, the Athena, right up in there as well. I mean, 16 of the 23 affected kills in their back pocket as well. So even a team effort. And we talked in the picks and ban score about that rotation potential. Been a 1-2 punch pretty significantly all game long.
I also have to give a pretty big shout out specifically to ACD, just because the way things have been going for this Kukulkan, like Zephyr is not something that I talk about too often with the Kukulkan, but the amount of damage that you're getting off just the one, that blast, I mean, it is doing so much. It's chunking people on Chase the Enemy because of how far ahead they are. Now, with even more items, after spending this also 4,000 gold in hand going into this back for the Fenrir, by the way. I just now spent 4,000 gold. You have all of these options, and so with all the diversity and damage, it's just a really good statement from Titans Reloaded. That's how I'd like to look at this. This is Titans Reloaded pointing out and saying that they not only want to stay in Swiss. This is a team that is saying they want to put themselves in the 2-2. They want to qualify going straight into playoffs. They don't want to have to deal with the group stage and the lower last chance qualifiers. Like, they just want to be able to skip one, go into a double elim bracket, play their best there, and see if they can make it a land.
Yeah, this won't be the last that we see of Chase the Enemy, hopefully. Keep moving forward. That's what I was sort of talking about when we were looking at the teams and some of the surprises. I mean, EMEA is pretty stacked. You got some really good teams, especially some that have already qualified, but this Titans Reloaded squad had looked good in a lot of those open qualifiers early before the Swiss stages started. Maybe just unlucky brackets for them. Maybe one final team fight here in this game if Titans Reloaded can get it done. A lot of the ultimates, sort of a swing and a miss here. Just have to get it done with old-fashioned damage. That's what Ripley Jr. is hoping to do. Oh, can't even get the kill. Unlucky. Athena lives to fight another day. Right over to the mid lane Phoenix. Those ultimates were far from perfect for Titans Reloaded. Lagor, I think they're just too far ahead here. They've got about 6 ultimates worth of gold difference in their back pocket.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't think we need to look at the net worth charts, but I have a feeling they'd probably be very, very similar, where, yeah, 2,000 gold up. For the Athena, your support being 2,000 gold up, this has just been clean, crisp, pristine gameplay, right? I mean, you've had some slip-ups, 4 of them to be exact on Chase the Enemy, but if you were blanking them out at this point as well, it'd be just ridiculous. So at least a couple of kills go in the way of Chase the Enemy. A little bit of places to maybe look for improvement in the future, but if you're Titans Reloaded, you gotta be feeling good with your draft and your playstyle. My God!
Whoa! Talk about a one-shot and talk about a 2-0. Titans Reloaded with some slight work here on Sunday morning. Let Ragnar just grind this one out. Simply too much damage out of ACD, out of Ragnar, the carries, the jungler. It's a full team win. Titans Reloaded 2-0. And they'll move themselves onto the 2-2 portion of our Swift stage next weekend. Big win over Chase the Enemy.
They play better. I mean, there's no other way to really dice it. Like you had said, when you look at Dark is doing a great job showing up in solo lane that game. It gets them off to an early lead over there. And then suddenly Dark is in mid lane, and oh wow, we've got a lead there. And then now suddenly Dark's in left lane, and we've got a lead over there. It just feels like if Dark showed up, it was an omen of death for Chase the Enemy. And for Titans Reloaded, that was exactly what they needed, right? Cuckoo gets ahead. You get Ragnar ahead, which, again, it's kind of a slow god when you're playing the Jing Wei. It doesn't necessarily matter. You get picked up, you're doing everything you need. But when Dark is carrying and doing as much in the early game, And then mid-game, you get to see the pickups from the Fenrir. You get to see the pickups from the Kukulkan. And then by the time you hit a late-game build, like 13 minutes in for Ragna, you've got everything that you need at that point, right? And so your damage numbers were just done before really Chase the Enemy could have anything to say about it.
Loved what I saw from Ragna here today. This game was more of like that ADC or support KDA from your ADC. I mean, 3-1 and 10 is still really good, don't get me wrong. But Baki with a couple more kills on the Athena. And a handful more of assists. I mean, that's just talking about being all over the map on this pick. I mean, it's sort of tough to break these down, Gore, because it's just kind of a top-to-bottom win for the teams. Near top damage in the game is Ragna. But ACD, got to sing those praises as well. Kukulkan, every once in a while, you'll see just a big old swing and a miss game. The damage isn't doing much. Spirit of the Nine Winds are not connecting. The kit kind of lives and dies there. Saw a lot of good out of that mid lane pick. And really looking forward, Gore, I mean, we'll look at the bracket here in a little bit, but some of these rosters need to be on watch now for this Titans Reloaded team in those 2-2 matchups. Either you're going on to playoffs or you're dropping out of Swiss stage. And Titans Reloaded, if they can kind of replicate some of this and some of the drafts that are working for them, tough team to play up against.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think they just showcase it. And with some of the names that are left, there are some really interesting ones, like the next one, right? When you watch Smokebreak and Mockingbird, with one of those teams getting knocked to 2-2 no matter what, you gotta have a little bit of fingers crossed that if you're at this point threat level Midnight or Titans Reloaded, that you don't get whoever loses that matchup, because that is going to be a strong one that would be very, 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 very difficult to overcome. But I do think that you get to see, I mean, just a different presence, right? You stay alive, you get to fight, your chance to skip and just go straight to playoffs is still available. And so that's something I think to be excited for. And like you said, for some of the teams like Tithonic, Bill's Goons, even threat level Midnight, like you're going to need to be a little worried about what you face next week in the 2-2 matches.
We've only had 5 3-games, game 3s in this entire bracket, if my quick math is correct there. Lots of lopsided affairs so far here. And we'll see what we get later on today. In EMEA, Old and New and Discípulos del Chaos, Mockingbird and Smokebreak still have their matches left to go. So at 1 p.m., unless my eyes deceive me, we will be watching the other side. We'll be watching a 2-1 match of Mockingbird versus Smokebreak, and we'll keep you up to date on Old and New versus Disciples of Chaos in their matchup, and who ends up going home from there. Be a promotional match for Mockingbird versus Smokebreak into the playoffs. And as always, make sure you stay tuned after that 1 p.m. matchup, because we're going to have North America later on today. We're going to have 2 best of 3s there as well. So full Sunday of SMITE action for you to stay tapped into here. Gore, I think Titans Reloaded, the big takeaway here is this is a team that's starting to build up some of that chemistry. These are players who have played with one another in the past. And now through, 4 or 5 weeks of the Swiss bracket, through the open qualifier, so really a couple months of playing as a roster, the conversation starts to shift at this point from, all right, who can figure out the meta? You're going to get some of these solo carries, to like, all right, how does this team really play together? They've got enough games under their belt. Titans Reloaded look pretty good.
Yeah, it's someone now that I want to keep my eye on through the rest of the Founder series, just to see where they're going to end up. Because, we've got a lot of those teams. Team Risk, I think Giovanni Giorgio as well, and EMEA stand out maybe the most because of, like name power, and also admittedly being the first 2 that qualified directly to playoffs. But it's the teams like Titans Reloaded that give you that dark horse energy, and really are the ones that, if they're going to cause an upset in the future, they're the teams to keep your eyes on. And so that's what I'm watching Titans Reloaded for in the future.
Well, if that was a bit too fast and you didn't get a chance to wake up and eat your breakfast and grab yourself a drink, we've got a little bit of time now. So it is 12:20 Eastern time in 40 minutes. We're going to be picking it up with our second matchup here in EMEA. So stick around. Usually we'll throw up a video, have some fun stuff to watch on the stream anyway. But we'll be back with live SMITE 2 Founder Series in EMEA here in about 40 or so minutes. We'll see you then.